Welcome to Behind the DM Screen with WorldSmith. Today we have Matt and our new guest, Tyson. He's new to D&D. I am. And
Welcome.
I am Cameron, as always, and we are going to be your hosts on this adventure as we explore the character creation process. You get a lot of goofy characters and you get a lot of serious characters. And sometimes they don't gel too well together. And so I'm curious to start this conversation. What goes into creating a character for you guys? Are you considering the personality before the build? Does the build kind of tell the story and you fill in the spaces with your personality? What kind of characters do you like making? How do you do that?
Do we want to roll initiative? Do we want to just go for it? All right, let's see it. 3. I'm going last, baby.
Let's see. 10?
10,
All
right in the middle.
I don't want to go first. I'm going
Oh, you have to
Answer your own question.
I am very much a build-oriented player. So when I go into especially a one-shot, I think especially a campaign. If I'm going to be playing this character for a long time, I want to make sure that I'm going to have fun playing the character. I don't want them to suck. But at the same time, a character with no personality is, at the end of the day, the worst case scenario, I think. However, the build oftentimes gives me ideas for my character, right? So if I find some really cool rogue fighter multi-class, maybe I want him to be a detective like Batman. It gives me ideas based off of what their abilities are, right?
Right.
So that's kind of how I go about starting up a character.
Cool. Yeah. I think as somebody that's kind of newer to D&D, hopefully some people out there can relate. I've watched a lot of live plays and things like that, and I was like, cool, vibes, barbarian swing sword, or axe, and wizard cast spell. But for me, when I was making some of the campaigns that we've been doing for WorldSmith, it's been like, I want that character more than I want the build. Like, I want vibes to be all aligned, and then whatever spells or abilities or races or traits, whatever, kind of fall into that, cool. So that's why I went Warlock with one of our campaigns, because I was like, Warlock is built in with so much flavor, and I get to be a gambling addict who has a smoking problem and also can shoot magical fire and can teleport, kind of. And all of that kind of felt pretty character first, and then, abilities and talents second. And obviously I want him to do good and everything, but I don't know enough about D&D to really get into the nuts and bolts to try to figure out, like, hey, this is the optimal build and has flavor and stuff. So for me, I was just like, what would I want my character to be like? Write that down. Hey, this ability has a cool name that seems to match the vibe. Let me throw that in there. So
that's a really good point. Tyson plays as a character named TiVo in our ongoing campaign. I love TiVo as a character. I totally would have imagined you were playing as a warlock and decided, like, oh, what kind of personality would someone have if they were selling their soul to pay off student debts? And I mean, your character just made sense. So you chose Warlock because of your personality.
Right. Because I figured anybody desperate enough to take out a loan that big, the size of your soul, would be a Warlock.
That's really interesting.
Probably, yeah. Not many other races or classes would naturally fall into the selling your soul. Yeah.
Clerics aren't touching that.
No, that makes sense. Honestly, I've done it both ways. I think my biggest problem when it comes to build first, also like stats and numbers and everything like that, is I immediately start min-maxing and just going as hard as I can towards making as strong of a build as possible, which is great. And I think there's a good time for it. And you want to have someone who's strong in your campaign and stuff like that. But it also like when I do that, I start to lose a little bit of the fun parts. So I end up like creating a very complex character that I almost think of as like has specific combos or something like that. And I'm like, all right, this is who he is. And yeah, you can build a character off of that, but sometimes I think it's a lot harder than if you just come up with a character that you like first and you have an idea of someone that you want to role play and you're like, okay, I can get really into this concept. And like, okay, let's say for example, I really want to be a cleric or something like that, right? And you come up with a character that you want to do, and then you want them to be strong in this. You have a good background for them, and then when you're like looking at the spells as they go on, or like what stats you're going to choose or what feat you're going to choose, you think, okay, well, like what naturally would this character have done, right? So if I'm like, I don't know, a warlock who's really comes from a big, strong criminal background, I'm obviously going to pick a bunch of spells that help me with stealth or help me with like deceiving people or, you know, stuff like that. Whereas if I'm just going for the optimal build, I find that sometimes I limit the character that I create just because I was so focused on making them like the most powerful possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, especially with long-running campaigns, it's very easy to organically introduce these feats and abilities, and even multi-classes. I have a campaign that's been going for about a year, and we have this World Tree Barbarian, and I believe he just hit level 8, and he was like, you know what? I've been in tune with a lot of nature recently. I'm just going to dip into Druid because that's what my character would do. I don't know if that's the most efficient thing, but it's added a lot of really fun moments in our campaign, seeing this barbarian suddenly be able to turn into a mouse, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think those are the kind of decisions you make in, let's say, a one-shot where you're like, I want to play as a level 7 barbarian with a level 1 dip in Druid.
Right, yeah, there's no benefit to it, yeah.
But in a long-running campaign, when you're more connected with your character, I think it's a lot easier to make those kinds of choices.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think to your point, like, for the campaign that we've been running, which is awesome, you guys should go check it out,
Please
all the
do.
episodes that are out. Like, Cameron plays Darwin, Mana Storm.
I do.
Who's a cleric of Talos, right?
Yes, he's a Tempest cleric.
Tempest cleric. Okay. He does a ton of damage and saves our butt all the time. And Matt plays as Flick, a rogue, an arcane trickster, right?
Arcane trickster. Yep.
And he's like super utility and has all the spells that we need to get from one place to another, or hide, or unlock that door, or solve that puzzle, or have any perception whatsoever, because no, I am not doing that. And so, like, I think that when you build characters, especially for a long campaign, like we kind of been saying, and also they work well with other characters, you're free to do things like dip into Druid, or to multi-class in a fun way, or to take that spell that's not really that useful, but that gives your player vibes. Yeah. Like, I chose the Cloak of Flies. I can't remember if it's a spell or a cantrip because we haven't played in a while. But,
right.
And it's like, I don't really know if it's all that great of a spell. It doesn't do a whole ton, but it makes flies bubble out of my skin and surround me. And
it's still disgusting.
This is pretty sick, yeah.
and so, like, that's a fun thing for a warlock who sold his soul to be able to do. Like, yeah, there's like some darkness there and some edginess, and like, Mom doesn't get me because of that, you know. But like basically, it just adds some flavor. And if I was in a one shot, or if I needed to be useful all the time, like Matt and you need to be useful all the time, I don't know if I'd get to do those fun things. So I feel like it's a conjunction. Like, that's not really character creation from the get-go, but I think it's more of a process than it is just one set railroaded track. And I mean, maybe you do have that railroad track in mind, but like, when you get going in the campaign and it's a year later, you're going to change your mind at some point.
Totally,
yeah.
So, something I wanted to ask, because you are a newer player, your first character ever was a warlock, correct? Yeah. Mine was a druid rogue.
Rogue, yeah.
Okay, so I fondly remember over 10 years ago playing as my first druid and feeling a deep connection with this character. There's something about the first class you choosing just generally being your favorite.
Yeah.
And this holds true to both Matt and I. It might hold true for you later on.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what made the both of you choose Rogue and Warlock, and why do you enjoy it so much?
I mean, I think it was mostly the type of character I wanted to be. I think when I first started playing, I really wanted to be someone cool. I was 14 years old,
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to be like flipping all the time and stabbing people in the back. Yeah. And I was like, what's the best way to do that? Obviously rogue, like all of these other people are cool. I like druid was one that really seemed strong to me, but like I didn't want to be a bookish nerd. I didn't want to just be like a rage roid guy, I wanted to be someone who was like a cool mix of things, and dark and edgy. And I mean that's why I picked it, and a lot of those same reasons are part of why I love it still today. Because it's just fun to role play that kind of a character for me, and it's fun to be the one who does all of those like go-to stealth of hand, sleight of hand and stealth kind of checks. It's just it's a fun place to be in the campaign. So you feel used all the time, even when you're maybe a little bit squishier in battle, or like you can't hit quite as hard in later levels. So
or the DM doesn't like sneak attack and completely useless.
Oh my goodness, I had a DM once.
That'd be a problem.
One of my first DMs. He assumed that the only time sneak attack damage triggered is if you were hidden and came out of hiding. And so he just hardly ever allowed our rogue to sneak attack people.
That would be tough.
He just didn't read the rules, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, for you, a warlock, what have you enjoyed about the class? Are you glad you chose it?
Yeah, so I've created a couple warlocks, and I've also done a couple of fighters and barbarians for some of the one-shots that we've done. And it's like, the one thing that all those have in common, as I'm kind of racking my brain, is that they're not too complicated.
Yep.
Like I do not want to do a full caster.
Yeah, warlocks have like 2 spells.
Yeah, and they're cantrips, so it's just like spam, and I didn't even choose Eldritch. I mean, I chose Eldritch Blast, but I hardly use it because it's like there's easy things to do. I chose to have a Pact of the Blade, so I can just swing around a weapon and get up and close and fight people. I also like that. So I do some writing on my own, like some short stories and whatnot, and so I think about character a lot. And so when I'm thinking about character, like somebody that would sell their soul to anything is like a really cool concept. There's a lot of flavor baked into it. And then on top of that, it's like I really love the idea of somebody that's just chasing something so hard that they'll sell their soul. Like they have a goal or something they want to do that's so important to them that like doesn't matter after you die, only matters this short term. And I love the idea of a character that's that kind of narrow-minded. And so it just seemed like a fun one to me. And then again, simple. And warlocks are super customizable as well, so it's like I can do things that I want to do. It's not like, well, the optimal way to do this is cast fireball, but I don't want to. I want to hit something with my packed weapon. I want to then,
which is so much cooler, I think, than casting a big fire spell.
Well, and like fireball's cool, but like I want to be able to do things the way I want to do things, and
that's valid.
Warlock lets me do that better than a lot of other classes do, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think
it's a lot of fun flavor.
Arguably, half-casters, rangers, paladins, the spell options that they have force them to be more creative with their spells. I find being a full caster to be actually limiting sometimes, just because you have so many options that you have to just choose your like 5 go-to spells, and that's all you use.
Exactly. I feel like you so often start running full casters like you're a half caster when it comes to how many spells you have. Exactly. So I mean, and plus like when you have a half caster, sometimes like all of the spells are limited to what you can do, so it makes it a little bit more simple to pick, but you can still have enough flavor that you can really like delve deep into whatever your character concept is. So
100%. This conversation has been great, and it brings me to our next topic. A while back, like 5 years ago, I played this arena death match with another friend of mine. What we did was we rolled a d12 like 5 times to determine which 5 multi-classes we would be playing as.
Wild.
And we made a level 20 character each, and we threw them into an arena.
Oh my
just to
gosh.
see who would win.
That's a crazy game.
It took us like 4 hours.
There's so much math involved.
Don't ask me how, but the match ended after the first round of combat.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. I lost. I got my butt kicked.
Dang, dude.
Okay. I got kind of unlucky. I had 3 levels of bard, 3 levels of sorcerer, 6 levels of ranger, 5 levels of druid, and 3 levels of monk. What am I supposed to do with that? I don't know.
That's a little wild.
That's
yeah.
tough,
It
dude.
was all over the place. But what I want to ask you guys is to roll a d12 twice. And what we're going to do is we're going to make ourselves our own multi-classes, okay?
Okay.
So
let's do
I
it.
have the player's handbook right here.
Okay.
So Matt, I'm gonna ask you to roll a d12 twice.
Sweet.
So let's start with the first one.
8.
8 and
8.
okay, you gotta reroll.
I gotta
You gotta
reroll. 10.
So if we were in this death match,
Yeah.
we would have the multi-class of, let's see,
Thank you for pointing out.
a ranger sorcerer.
That's perfect,
that's
dude.
kinda
That's
cool. That's
pretty
kinda
much
cool.
what I play already. Yeah.
It's like so much main character energy as well.
Yeah, dude.
So here's the thing: I would have never played a ranger sorcerer multi-class. Me personally, if I were to choose, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But us doing this process makes me kind of curious. What would that look like? A ranger with magic, wild magic.
I think so. I mean, it's pretty similar to my favorite class, which is an arcane trickster rogue, which is essentially, a rogue who has some spells. But I mean, it depends on what level I am, obviously, but I think it would probably just be it's such an easy one to do because sorcerers, just their magic is innate, right? So it's something from my background. Maybe I have some fun like bloodline. Maybe I have just like something happened in my immediate heritage or something. But then you just add that with like a cool criminal, assassin, sneaking, something like that, thief, heist background. It's a great combo, yeah.
What stats are you pushing in that one? You
Oh,
got
man.
charisma for the,
Just charisma and dex, dude. Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty much everything. I mean, that's a pretty cool combo too, because then I can have a lot of fun role playing and casting spells and still being able to fight and dodge and do acrobatics and avoid. Yeah, I think
like there were a little glass cannon-y here.
yeah, little bit. I'm not.
You do have a D10 for hit dice.
Oh, okay. That's
Did you say ranger? I thought it was rogue.
No, it's ranger.
Oh.
Ranger sorcerer.
Oh shoot.
Still the dexterity.
Still
thing
cool.
applies.
Still
Yeah.
the same thing, pretty
I would
much.
argue
Yeah.
a ranger sorcerer is cooler than a rogue sorcerer.
Nah, nothing's cooler than a rogue. Just kidding. But yeah, ranger sorcerer is cool too. I mean, I would probably try and go nature-y magic, kind of like you were touching on. Maybe like have some kind of Legolas style build,
Sure.
but make it a lot more magic heavy.
I'm sorry to ruin your day.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I
Yeah.
just heard R.
I hate
It's like,
rangers.
He heard what he wanted
Yeah.
to hear.
There have been so many times when I've almost played a ranger and then I just go,
You're like,
might as well be a rogue. Yeah.
Rangers, they're an okay class. I don't think that they do one particular thing overly well.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like the whole survival thing, right? Being able to track stuff, but it doesn't happen very often in D&D.
Yeah, and a lot of those concepts of their subclasses are cool, but again, it's just something that most DMs don't really plan into their story. Like you have to like ask your DM, say, "Oh, hey, can you please make these bad guys be?"
Just keep track of rations, please.
Is this
Yeah.
my favorite terrain? Is this my favorite target?
Exactly.
Please add some poisonous berries to the forest that I can detect and identify. Like,
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
save somebody with a nature check.
Oh
Right.
man, yeah, but it's cool stuff still. But yeah,
Okay, Tyson,
good combo.
It's your turn to roll
Sweet.
the D12 twice.
Thank you for pointing out which one's the D12.
Got you, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go. We've got, is that a
9?
And a 5. Working 9.
Your multi-class would be a fighter,
Oh, heck yeah.
rogue.
Fighter,
Fighter, rogue.
tough combo.
All right, got that. Extra attack, sneak attack.
Just the
Okay.
most athletic person on the planet.
Yeah.
Hear me out though. Action surge, extra
Okay.
attack, all with sneak attack bonus. Does
Okay.
that sneak attack stack with extra attacks?
I don't think it's but you could probably apply it to both attacks, right?
I'm gonna look
Time
this
out
up.
to look this
while
up.
You can discuss.
You
the-
think about your concept,
Okay,
yeah.
so here's what I'm thinking. It's got to be like a dexterity fighter. It can't be a strength fighter. So a lot of ranged weapons, maybe like get some arrows in there, crossbow, and then with it going along with the decks, like maybe you're doing 2 short swords, or maybe you're two-handing another sword, or I don't know, but something that you're not using a shield, you're not a tank, you are getting in there to do a lot of damage and to not get hit. Like your AC's got to be high, so I'm thinking high dex, high constitution. Probably maybe an elf of some sort would go well with this.
A drow.
Yeah, drow.
Drows are cool.
Or just something that will help balance out your strength, maybe like an orc or a dwarf or something. I don't know.
I'm sorry to ruin your day, but sneak attack only applies once per turn.
Okay, per turn?
As a DM, I think it's to avoid the whole bonus action attack with the dagger type combo.
It could get powerful quick.
I would, as a DM, change that and just say if you're using your action to attack, you can apply sneak attack. Because I actually think a rogue with extra attacks is a really fun combo, and it wouldn't get out of hand because you've dedicated so many levels to another class just to get that extra attack.
Right.
That your sneak attack bonus isn't even that high.
Right. Well, and then I'm also thinking if I'm the DM and I'm looking at a character like this, if you're sneaking up on a guard and you stab him straight through the back, he's going to be just as surprised that you stab him again. He's not going to be
He's I'm aware of this now.
He's not going to be any more prepared for the second immediately after strike, especially if we're doing three strikes in 6 seconds. I mean, that's
that's fair.
You can't tell me that on the second one he's turning around, putting his shield in the middle. No. He's dying.
I also think it's just a fun idea to just have guards going around, and then they just see out of the shadows this giant hulking buff dude just appear out of thin air pretty much and kill him,
for sure. That second wind would come in handy too with the rogue being a little squishier. That would be.
Fighters have a D10 for their hit dice.
Yeah, it's just a stronger rogue essentially. That's how I'd role play it.
Okay, I'm gonna go roll for me now. This is our multi-class. 1 and 5. So that's a barbarian fighter.
Oh, okay.
Match
again,
There's nothing. Is that even a multi-class, or is that just one class?
Right. I mean, the only thing that kind of sucks with D&D rules is extra attacks don't stack.
Yeah, so that
hitting level 5 with both barbarian and fighter isn't going to do much. But I mean, they're both melee tanks. So.
Well, I feel like if you put more into barbarian and then made sure you just got action surge out of fighter,
that's all you need.
I think you're good. Yeah. I think whatever's in front of you should be dead by then.
It's a 2-level dip in fighter, just have a burst of damage and some extra health.
Yeah, you could do some of those subclasses could be fun though. I think some of the weapon benefits and stuff like that could actually be pretty beneficial, but there's not as much crossover that benefits with 2 fighter classes like that.
If you did a wild magic barbarian.
Actually, that's a subclass in the new.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's what you're talking about.
So if you did a wild magic barbarian.
Yeah.
And then you did a fighter that was a battle master with maneuvers. You could do some really weird things because I've made a wild magic barbarian, and one of the things that they can do is teleport. Well, you roll on a random table, so one of the things that could happen is you teleport. And then if you're teleporting, behind somebody and then you disarm them, I mean, that
would be terrifying.
Really good.
Imagine a jack dude walks into the room and he's just teleporting around and grabbing weapons.
And you're rage, so you're just not taking very much damage anyways. So you're just crushing people.
Yeah, mid scream he just disappears and you just hear the scream right behind you.
That would be crazy. Imagine if Marvel's Nightcrawler was Jack. That's terrifying.
Imagine if Wolverine also had Nightcrawlers. That would be nuts.
Game over.
That's not fun. Yeah.
But it's wild magic, so it only works 5% of the time.
Cool.
The other 95% of the time you're turning into a unicorn or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that guy from Jujutsu Kaisen, the clapping guy, Yeah.
Love
that guy's so good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're just about ready to wrap up.
Yeah.
This has been a super fun discussion. Tyson, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Before we end, I do have a question for all of our viewers that we'll address in our next podcast. What multi-class combinations are you interested in? Is there a character that you really resonated with, a build, a personality? leave a comment down below and let us know. We'll read them all. Please comment. Thank you guys.
Thanks for watching.